President Trump and the U.S. military performed a military strike on 3 different Iranian missile and nuclear bases. Some are saying this was good in order to protect the United States from Iran, whose mission statement is death to America. Others say, I now hate Trump and regret voting for him, while Democrats are saying later this week we will move to officially impeach Donald J. Trump for bombing Iran. I'll go through all the details and point out why everyone missed one specific thing, and I'll give context to everything else I just mentioned. Over 10 years ago, Donald J. Trump announced his desire to lead the nation as the 45th president. In his first ever speech, he said he would close the U.S. border and ensure Iran never got a nuclear weapon. He's since promised over the last 10 years to keep America and Americans safe by keeping Iran away from nuclear power. However, it became clear that intel was signaling Iran was just weeks away from their first nuclear weapon. Even Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, signaled he was backing away from his support of Iran having a nuke. Now, the director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, and President Trump were being fed conflicting and purposely bad information about Iran's nuclear program. This was to divide the two of them. This was to make President Trump look bad so that people would say, well, we believe Tulsi, and others would say, no, we believe President Trump. Either way, intel is now showing that President Trump wanted to move on this in order to keep America safe. Now, many are saying that he is a puppet of Israel. I don't believe this is true. Just like with the Gaza situation, he stepped in as the big alpha male, and now things are going much better in Gaza, and they're getting food and water and supplies in there. Israel has lost control of the situation. Israel then attacked Iran, killing the very people that the president of the United States was negotiating with. I believe Trump has now stepped in as the big alpha male in order to take control of the situation. Now, for over a month, President Trump, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and others have tried to negotiate a peaceful breakup of Iran's nuclear program. However, Iran refused to negotiate. So President Trump and the U.S. military made a precise and coordinated attack on 3 missile and nuclear creation sites. Joint Chief of Staff Raisin Kane outlines all of Operation Midnight Hammer here, and in a more precise way than I can. Now, this is a little bit long, but it's worth watching, and then I'll go into what everybody missed.
At midnight Friday into Saturday morning, a large B-2 strike package comprised of bombers launched from the continental United States. As part of a plan to maintain tactical surprise, part of the package proceeded to the west and into the Pacific as a decoy, a deception effort known only to an extremely small number of planners and key leaders here in Washington and in Tampa. The main strike package, comprised of 7 B-2 Spirit bombers, each with 2 crew members, proceeded quietly to the east with minimal communications. Throughout the 18-hour flight into the target area, the aircraft completed multiple in-flight refuelings. Once over land, the B-2s linked up with escort and support aircraft in a complex, tightly timed maneuver requiring exact synchronization across multiple platforms in a narrow piece of airspace, all done with minimal communications. This type of integration is exactly what our joint force does better than anyone else in the world. At approximately 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time last night, and just prior to the strike package entering Iran, a U.S. submarine in the Central Command Area of Responsibility launched more than 24 Tomahawk land attack cruise missiles against key surface infrastructure targets at Isfahan. As the Operation Midnight Hammer strike package entered Iranian airspace, the U.S. employed several deception tactics, including decoys, as the fourth and fifth generation aircraft pushed out in front of the strike package at high altitude and high speed, sweeping in front of the package for enemy fighters and surface-to-air missile threats. The strike package was supported by U.S. Strategic Command, U.S. Transportation Command, U.S. Cyber Command, U.S. Space Command, U.S. Space Force, and U.S. European Command. As the strike package approached Fordo and Natanz, the U.S. protection package employed high-speed suppression weapons to ensure safe passage of the strike package, with fighter assets employing preemptive suppressing fires against any potential Iranian surface-to-air threats. We are currently unaware of any shots fired at the U.S. strike package on the way in. At approximately 6:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2:10 a.m. Iran time, the lead B-2 dropped two GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator weapons on the first of several aim points at Fordo. As the president stated last night, the remaining bombers then hit their targets as well, with a total of 14 MOPs dropped against two nuclear target areas. All three Iranian nuclear infrastructure targets were struck between 6:40 p.m. and 7:05 p.m. Eastern time. Again, that's about 2:10 in the morning local time in Iran, with the Tomahawk missiles being the last to strike at Isfahan to ensure we retain the element of surprise throughout the operation. Following weapons release, the Midnight Hammer strike package exited Iranian airspace and the package began its return home. We are unaware of any shots fired at the package on the way out. Iran's fighters did not fly, and it appears that Iran's surface-to-air missile systems did not see us. Throughout the mission, we retained the element of surprise. In total, U.S. forces employed approximately 75 precision-guided weapons during this operation. This included, as the president stated last night, 14 30,000-pound GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrators, marking the first ever operational use of this weapon. I know that battle damage is of great interest. Final battle damage will take some time, but initial battle damage assessments indicate that all three sites sustained extremely severe damage and destruction. More than 125 U.S. aircraft participated in this mission, including B-2 stealth bombers, multiple flights of fourth and fifth generation fighters, dozens and dozens of air refueling tankers, a guided missile submarine, and a full array of intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance aircraft, as well as hundreds of maintenance and operational professionals. As the secretary said, this was the largest B-2 operational strike in U.S. history and the second longest B-2 mission ever flown, exceeded only by those in the days following 9/11.
Okay. General Kane did an excellent job of explaining that in about 5 minutes. So an 18-hour straight flight in stealth mode, completely unaware, no shots fired in or out by Iran. They were so caught off guard that they didn't even have time to scramble their jets. President Trump, since taking office, has said when needed, he would use the full force of the U.S. military to hit hard and then leave. No endless wars, no new wars. That's exactly what happened last night. No boots on the ground, no shots fired, no one killed, and everyone back home safely. Vice President J.D. Vance said, "We're not at war with Iran. We're at war with Iran's nuclear program." Now, Iranian Foreign Ministry described the U.S. attack as savage military aggression and admitted they were completely caught off guard. Now, here's what Secretary of State Marco Rubio had to say.
The goal stated very clearly in a letter the president sent the supreme leader about 65, 67 days ago. In a letter, he said, you're not going to have a nuclear weapon. Let's negotiate peacefully a solution. We can make a really good deal that's good for Iran, good for America, good for the world. If you don't, however, then I'm going to have to deal with this differently. The Iranians didn't like the letter. They didn't respond to it. They ultimately entered into fake negotiations and tried to play them along. In essence, they thought they could do with President Trump what they've done with presidents in the past and get away with it. And they found out last night that they can't. And the world found out last night that you can't. And that's important, not just on this issue, but for so many other issues happening around the world. I think that what we are seeing is that this is a president that tells you what he's going to do, and then he does it. And I think that to a lot of people, including the Iranian regime, is shocking.
President Trump is a president that keeps his word. So he told them, let's negotiate this. Get rid of the nuclear, and maybe you can start trading internationally with the rest of us. You can rejoin the community. They didn't want to do that. Then Israel made a move, one that we believe President Trump did not sign off on. And then he had to come in and regain control of the situation. Now, let me show you exactly what Department of Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth had to say about this.
The scope and scale of what occurred last night would take the breath away of almost any American if you had an opportunity to watch it in real time. And I think Tehran is certainly calculating the reality that planes flew from the middle of America in Missouri overnight, completely undetected over 3 of their most highly sensitive sites. And we were able to destroy nuclear capabilities. And our boys in those bombers are on their way home right now. We believe that'll have a clear psychological impact on how they view the future. And we certainly hope they take the path of negotiated peace.
So, as DoD Secretary Pete Hegseth said, every country in the world, but especially Iran, just realized that the United States can do worldwide covert attacks anywhere in the world. And President Trump said there isn't a military on planet Earth that could have done what the U.S. military just accomplished. Yes, other countries have missiles, hypersonic missiles, but to do what was just done was an absolute miracle when it comes to military operations. Now, here's what I think a lot of people missed. Even though this was a covert attack over an almost 24-hour period and looked like something out of a perfectly scripted spy movie, what we're finding out now is that the White House actually informed Iran that an attack was coming. They didn't say when, they didn't say where, how it would be. All that they knew was that President Trump was going to hit them extremely hard. Then they would leave immediately and we would not come back. If you attack us, you will be hit 10 times harder. You will now see what we are able to do. So no boots on the ground. Iran knew to keep the area free of people. Iran also knew that this was going to be a massive show of force, and then it would be over. Absolutely over. Now, Charlie Kirk posted this over on X, CNN, talking about how this completely caught people off guard.
Here's the latest developments on this major breaking news that we're following. Breaking news in Iran. American bombers have struck 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 nuclear sites, major nuclear sites inside Iran. Those sites, Fordo, Isfahan, and Natanz. They're considered the heart of Iran's nuclear ambitions. Israel had tried to target them in the past, but a U.S. official tells CNN that the U.S. used not 1, not 2, but 6 B-2 bombers and 12 bunker buster bombs. And that was just at the Fordo site. Sources tell CNN that the U.S. Told Iran through back-channel discussions that the strikes would be contained and no further strikes were planned, at least not yet.
Okay, so they were back channeling. So everybody's freaking out. Oh, President Trump, he's this monster. This isn't what I voted for. It's absolutely what you voted for. I voted for this man 3 times. He promised to close the border and keep America safe. He promised to ensure that Iran never got a nuclear weapon and keep America safe. Promises made, promises kept. Now, what's interesting is they didn't tell them when this was going to happen, but they, through back channel communications, made sure that everyone would be safe, that Iran would feel the power and might of the U.S. military, and that it would be over. So now the ball is in Iran's court if they want to move forward, if they want to do something else. Now, you're not going to believe this, but Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Bernie Sanders, Adam Schiff, Elizabeth Warren, they're all saying later this week, they will be calling for President Trump to be impeached over attacking Iran, over keeping America safe, over keeping the number one funder of terrorism, not just in America, but in Israel, in Europe, and around the world, that they would contain their ability to get a nuclear weapon. Now they want to go after him and impeach him for keeping America safe. Let me go ahead and show you exactly what Adam Shifty Shift had to say about this, because what he's really mad is that he didn't know it was going to happen, and now he's crying about it on CNN.
These strikes again against Iran last night. He says that they have been successful. Do you see any upside, any positive news for the security of the world in learning of the success of these strikes?
First of all, Casey, I want to express my gratitude that the pilots are all out safely and acknowledge the skill, the bravery, and the professionalism of all the military forces that were engaged in this military operation. But it's not an operation that should have ever been authorized by the president in the absence of intelligence showing that Iran had made the decision to break out and build a bomb. The intelligence I've seen, and it's been limited, indicates that Iran had certainly enriched uranium, but had not made the decision to build a bomb or pursue the mechanism of a bomb. And in the absence of that, this is not a strike that should have been ordered. In watching Hegseth during that press conference this morning, we saw a lot of arrogance from the defense secretary. And as wars in the Middle East have demonstrated, arrogance is a deadly commodity. We simply don't know what is going to occur now, whether Iran will retaliate, whether Iran was able to evacuate some of the enriched material from Fordo. There were commercial satellite images of trucks lined up at Fordo and leaving Fordo in the days preceding the strike. So a lot of questions, including the risk to American service members. In terms of, is there anything positive to come out of it? Yes. I mean, the destruction of these facilities is a positive in the sense that it will set back Iran's program. And look, this is a nefarious regime that is the preeminent state sponsor of terror. It should have never been pursuing a nuclear program. But it is very possible, and I think we have to anticipate, Iran now kicks out any inspectors. It leaves the non-proliferation treaty. And if it wasn't in a sprint for a bomb, it is now going to engage in a sprint for the bomb. So a lot of uncertainty. Finally, this was not constitutional, was not lawful in the absence of a declaration by Congress. And so the administration should have come to Congress. We will have a vote on a war powers resolution. But there's a reason to bring this to Congress, and it is you want the Congress bought in. You want the American people bought in on an action this substantial that could lead to a major outbreak of war.
One of the reasons he's mad, I mean, he's grateful that they did this. He's grateful that they were successful, that they got back home. But what he wanted was he wanted to be on the conversation so that he could look good to his voters, right? Now, why would President Trump not want to let Adam Schiff in on this intel? Probably because of the Russia hoax. Remember when every day Adam Schiff would come out of his intel meeting from a skiff and he would say, if you guys only knew what I was seeing about Donald Trump, you would be sickened. I can't tell you what it was. Yes, he was peeing on hookers and sexually deviant and all of these lies about President Trump, when reality is they were spying on his campaign and they were trying to impeach him at every turn. So this is why Adam Schiff was not filled in on what was going on. Now, Iran says that they might attack military bases. Kash Patel, the director of the FBI, says the FBI, the NSA, the CIA, they are all monitoring for potential homeland attacks in America from Iranian sleeper cells. Iran has announced that they will shut down the Strait of Hormuz in order to block oil tankers. However, with just a little bit of digging, the biggest loser if Iran does this is Iran and China, not the United States and not U.S. allies. Even President Putin of Russia has said, we're not going to get involved with this. We like Iran, we'll back Iran, but not when it comes to America and Israel. There's just too many Russian Jews in Israel for us to get involved. Now, many believe that this was a good thing and will make the world and America and Israel safer. I do not believe that President Trump did this because he is a puppet of Israel. I believe he did this because for over a decade he has said, I will keep America safe by keeping Iran away from the power, the awesome power of nuclear weapons. Now, they are going to try to impeach him. We're going to have to step in and support President Trump. I'd like to hear from you. Was this good? Was this bad? Do you feel safer? What do you think about, even though they came in with this secret, covert, spy-like attack, that they got people out of the area and they told them, we will hit you hard and then we will be gone. It will be over unless you attack us. Then we will hit you 10 times harder and things will change. Let me know in the comments, please, what you think about this. If you've stayed this long and found value in the video, please give it a like and hit that subscribe button. We're almost to 2 million amazing truth seekers. I love you guys. I'm back full force at it tomorrow, and I will see you on the next video.